Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you. Good to be back. I'm going to start just a little bit differently today. I want to show you something and tell you a tiny story before we sit, because I'd like for you to sit with it, if you would. Um, it's um, it's partly a little bit of a celebratory thing. It's partly selfish. I want you to sit with me um, in a lovely way. This tonight here, be very much in the middle of the night for many of you. I'll be offering zazen at Guseji, the little Soto mission temple here on Molokai, for the first time. And it's been a several year process of the temple being reopened, renovated. This is an interesting thing for those of you in the United States. Um, One of the gifts that was given um, to help renovate the temple was from AARP, the, because so many older people come to the temple, and programs were going to be there. So it was revived. A man came from Japan and lived here for several years and helped out. He was like a little temple priest, and it's all repainted and refurbished. Um, and I met the folks the families for whose temple this is actually their church. And I said, I don't expect to have any kind of leadership or authority, but if you want someone to hold zazen, I'd be happy to do that. And for 2 years, they didn't really respond very much, but they came recently and said, would you still like to do that? And I said, sure, let's try, one time and see how it goes. So I want to orient you to this just for a moment, because this is a beautiful day to meet with you today and then to meet with them a little bit later. Here's an image. Did that come through okay? The photograph that you cannot see very well is one of those old, wide photographs, which was the day the temple was opened in 1927. And if you look closely at it, if you're up in the temple, it's very formal and beautiful to see how long this little temple has been here in a very small island. And it was, as it says here, a way for the Japanese immigrants who were here to connect with their home and continue their cultural aspirations and things that were in a, a culture in which this would be expected or normal, which is unlike most of us who are white Buddhist converts. Not all white, but Western converts at least. And now if you drive down the main street in Kaunakakai, which looks like an old Western town, really, it's a tiny little place. If you're going one particular way, you see this sign on an alley that points you down the alley. And just a couple of years ago, when Bishop Kumagana came over from Honolulu, and there's Marge Bento, who's holding the incense there next to. She's one of the families who has been here forever. You can see the quality of buildings behind in this area. But then you see on the right how the temple looks now, and you see Reverend Kumagata going in to get ready to offer the ceremony to reopen the temple. The two symbols above the door are these same two symbols that you'll see a little bit on my rakasu. They're from Eheji and Sojiji. And the man with the cap on that's barely visible is Hiro, the Japanese man who came and helped manage the temple. It's a very simple place inside, but it's a proper temple. Over on the right-hand side, just past the window, is the long photograph that I made a copy of for you to see. On the right-hand side of this picture is Dogen Zenji. You see the little figure. On the left-hand side is Keizan, the two main founders of the Soto school. Reverend Kumagata leading the service, the orchid that I brought that day as a gift, and on the outside, the Jizo Bodhisattva in the garden. So this just gives you a feel. So thank you for witnessing these things just for a moment. And part of why I have the background that I have, and this bell is actually in a temple in Tokyo, is because I want to talk some about what it's like to enter the temple, whether it's this one, a virtual one online, or one that was built in 1927, which in Zen terms is really new. I remember when we went to Rinso in Japan, at Suzuki Roshi's temple, they took us to the Zendo, which was quite amazing. And they said, yeah, this is the new one that was built in 1540. That was the new one. The other one had burned down. And my offering tonight showed up in the Molokai newspaper, inviting people to come, because it's kind of unusual, because most of these temples, as a Soto mission, aren't about practice. They're about ceremonies and family gatherings. When I was in Japan with Blanche and Mel and Huitsu Suzuki practicing at Rinso-in, the newspaper came and took pictures of us there. These Americans are doing this old thing the Japanese didn't do, which is practice, not just ceremonies. So I mention this because I'm starting my day with you in this temple, and this evening I'll be in an older, more traditional temple, and I want to weave some things together today for us. So with that in mind, if you wouldn't mind now sitting in this temple, I'll ring the bell and we can have a few moments of silence now that more people have joined us, and we'll offer a little more. And as you settle, you might also settle with the question, are you actually sitting in your home or wherever you are? Are you sitting in the little mission here, or where is your sitting actually situated? Yes, you're in your seat at home, but is your sitting restricted to that place? Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. It's possible that maybe you can see the symbols of Aheji and Sojiji here. They were on my rakusu. That are the same ones on the temple. The reason I'm wearing this one today rather than the brown one is to situate us in this particular way. Since I last saw you, which has been a few weeks in this particular form, much has gone on, I'm sure, in your lives, certainly in mine. It's important to remember that this has been one continuous, unbroken practice. All of us are involved in continually creating something that is of beautiful shared value. Deep inquiry into the Dharma as it moves through and among all of our lives. And you see how many people show up. It seems to be of some value. And I wanted to offer some reminders and some orientations, reflect a little on the teachings that had come in the last few weeks in this one continuous process. And then a little bit about an experience I had last week, which seems to weave them together. One thing that's very important to remember is this format, inquiry, is not mine. Although I've led it for so many years, people think of it as Flint does inquiry and then other people fill in. And I do have a lot of experience. But as you witness, all the other teachers who've been offering inquiry are profoundly committed to the Dharma and to you. And each person brings their own voice, as you know, and offers the Dharma in their own way as it moves through them. And I'm deeply touched and very grateful for their sincerity and their commitment, as well as their wise and compassionate willingness to meet all of you who come forward in this. It's just a shared offering. Think about it. A lot of you will say that it takes a lot to come on at the end if you're going to step forward and raise your hand and meet one of us. The sort of trepidation to step out onto this large stage. But allow yourself to imagine what it takes to step into the teacher's seat. Not really knowing what will be the best offering I could make today. Week after week after week, and no idea who or what's going to meet me when I open the door and say, step forward. So whether we say student and teacher, but this is a shared vulnerability that I hope that you can appreciate, and a shared offering. And we all take certain roles. Right now, I'm taking the role of teacher, you're taking the role of student. But don't mistake the roles as something that's real or make them too solid. We're all helping each other learn, we're all teaching, we're all receiving and learning. But every single person that you can see, including me, we're all subject to the same vagaries and unpredictability, which Joel and Josh certainly found out. In each moment, the swirl of human emotion and thoughts and things that can be triggered. And goodness knows we all have preferences and fears, and then that calls for different protector parts of us, and plus gorgeous and inspiring encouragements and kindness. It's just the whole thing. But we have to watch, and this is the core of our Zen practice, is we make these arisings into certainties and realities, and then respond to what's arising in us as if that's the full reality, when they're actually imaginative and temporary, like everything. I was with a Tibetan teacher one time who said, leave the arisings in the arising. Like, leave them alone, bear witness. Take it all seriously, but that doesn't mean to take yourself so seriously. It doesn't mean to not take it seriously. But don't miss that none of this is what you think it is. And that's what inquiry is about. To look deeper than just our automatic, everyday reactions, whether they're joyful or whether they're, unhappy. This is also why I tend to reflect on, when I get the opportunity to offer inquiry, I'll often reflect on maybe a few teachings back, because I like to thread them together. And each of the teachers in the last few weeks have done that. They've reflected on someone the week before or when I last spoke. Because these are not exactly Dharma talks, and they're certainly not performative. This is not a performance. We're trying to reflect the living Dharma in this everyday distributed Sangha, this is the body of the Buddha. That's what we're embodying. And so each of these meetings is led by, right now, this wonderful group of teachers which we have available. But it's also truly offered by all of us. How many of you have heard one of us offer something like this in the beginning, but then when people come forward, you see, oh wow, the real powerful things happen then. And there are more teachers coming along in training, because some of us are getting old, and we'll step away, or more likely pass away. Inquiry is not mine, with others being a substitute to fill in until I come back. We sit together, all of us. We chant together. We work together when we're in a retreat. We study together. We walk together in Kenyan sometimes when we're in person. We cry together and celebrate together as one family, with literal births and deaths. And we face old age and sickness, and also great joys and great celebrations. We witness surprising acts of generosity and creativity, and moments of despair and loss. This is one continuous practice, one body together. We've already, I was only just now able to, yesterday, I listened to the talk by Joel, which Josh then assisted with, Josh's talk after that, Suzanne's, Trudy's. I listened to all of those yesterday because Erin and I had the opportunity to do something we almost never do, is have a little vacation time. And besides the work I was doing with my family, which it took me away as well, and the work camp at Hui Holana here on the island, there were many things involved. So yesterday I sat down and listened to all of the inquiries and all of you. And I was profoundly moved, because sitting in it that long and marinating in the teachings was beautiful. The unfortunate loss of the internet that Joel experienced was the fortunate opportunity. It was an interesting way to offer teachings, Joel, but it did work. And then Josh picked it up. And I loved it reminded me of I was in Sheffield one time. I see many of you from Sheffield, where we had a pretty large gathering called together at the Quaker Meeting House in downtown. It's a beautiful old building. And I had a presentation that I put together, which would be projected onto a large screen with my imagery, and like I usually do. And to the best of our ability, John was working hard as he could, and we could not get it to work. So everyone was there. It was time to start, and there I was, standing in front of the room, without the thing I'd worked on for days. And it ended up being one of the most intimate and wonderful times we'd had in a long time. Just like it was with Joel and Josh. In what ways have you had the opportunity to see into the mystery and depth of your life? Josh said, usually as a result of events which are not what you might have expected and not matched to what you'd hoped for. So I do want to talk some about interruptions and how it offers us the capacity for something wholehearted to come forward, an appropriate response. Which in that day, towards the end, each person reflected in some way. Cassie embodied it, taking all these questions and all these responses to heart, just say something. And then Josh continued that next week with his reference to Shunmyo Masuno, the great Zen gardener. Zen teachings are fundamentally about how humans can live in this world. Our inquiry is fundamentally about how we can live in this world. And the part I love the most is the thing about the vending machine, of course. Like, what about the vending machine in the corner? Accept. That's one of the hardest teachings, isn't it? Not work with it, figure it out. No, just accept. I think Americans are bad at this. I don't know about others, but accept with a bow. And by the way, we were talking about moving the chairs, Josh. Blanche was always very strict in the dining hall at San Francisco Zen Center. When you come to sit down, pick up your chair and move it. Don't scrape it across the floor. Does it matter? Not really. Does it make a difference? It really does. Not because of the scraping, because of the attending. And because of the noticing what the difference is in the environment when you attend to everyone else. Suzanne did a beautiful job of weaving together Joko and Blanche about encouragement and disappointment and serving life fully. And I also appreciated I was talking to Chris Eckerman in Madison, and she said, there's something that you said that I wrote down in my notes 3 times. And I said, really? What was that? Because I don't remember these things. And she said, it was something like a distinction that she wrote down about moving from, or the distinction between developing yourself fully and going beyond yourself. You get this? What's it like to develop yourself fully, which is more ordinary? I want to develop myself into the best possible person, and more therapeutic and a way of sort of setting a goal for yourself, and stepping beyond yourself, which is really what Zen practice is about. And and Trudy, of course, talking about the courage, the encouragement, and using that wonderful word valor to meet fear without fear, or at least stepping into that larger space in which one can meet everything along with the fear, including meeting the fear. But in saying that, you're stepping beyond yourself, because if you're meeting the fear, who's the one meeting it? Especially when you're discouraged and things are difficult. I heard a talk once. I didn't hear the talks. I read it. Someone Roshi, a wonderful teacher from the past century. Someone came and said, "I'm so discouraged. What should I do?" And he said, "Encourage others. Offer it." "What are your feel notes?" Trudy said. Your feel notes are your responses in your life to your practice. So these are some of the things I took, some of the things that are moving through me still. And little did I know, because I hadn't listened to those talks, that what was moving in me during my week away was exactly the same things. It's kind of startling. We were on the west coast of Maui, and it meant that driving from the airport in our Uber from the airport to the hotel, we went on the bypass around Lahaina, the city that had burned. And things are still fraught and difficult. But also the bypass, even though it went above, we say here in Hawaii, Mauka to, which means up the mountain from, Mauka to Lahaina, which is on the coast, the fire had come down the slope. So we were driving through the burn zone. And we see it on television every day. There's something about Lahaina and what's happened and what's going on. But to see it in person, it's a very different thing. And so during the week, I wrote something about it, which I'll read to you in a moment. Then yesterday, when I listened to the talks, I was stunned to hear things that were so resonant. That kind of mystery about how are these things actually moving without us knowing. So I entitled this poem Gateway to the Temple, and it's part of why I have the background that I have right now, and why we're talking about these temples, which I'll be speaking in later today, or in the middle of your night. So if you'll bear with me just for a moment, here I'm going to read the poem once through that I wrote last week, and then I'll come back and make some other comments to complete. This is an homage to Lahaina. Entry to the temple. At the entry gate of every temple, a great bell waits. When struck, a deep, resonant call is sent out. A powerful sound, but something closer to gravity, invisibly pulling us across the threshold into a sacred space, toward the promise of the perfected love we secretly long for, a divine love which is equally terrifying, as it beautifully consumes and nourishes us. On that summer day in August, there was no bell, no call was sent out, no signal, no warning announcing the impending destruction. Only the savage wind tearing down the dry, ragged slopes, carrying one spark which would destroy a town. And now we gather in safety at the blackened boundary, not able to enter, although we long to help, and not able to turn away, even though the bearing witness is awful. Instead, we find ourselves at this thin place between life and death, called by the resonant silence of those who are gone, and the compassionate cry arising from our own hearts. But isn't it always like this for us? Hesitating to enter the frightening places which could save us. Pausing, unable to move, knowing we have to go there, to do what we have to do, crossing the turbulent threshold where love and loss collide. Like the powerful winter swells pounding the shoreline, impossibly rearranging mountains of sand over and over again, life heaves itself into being in all of its wild beauty, and then inexorably sweeping it all away, only to offer it back again and again. Maybe this is what the temple bell is signaling. The willingness to carry on, even knowing the disturbing truth of impermanence and uncertainty. The faith to continue to care for each other, even when we've been emptied and discouraged. And a boundless hope which holds firm, even as everything changes without warning. The temple gate is now in ashes. The great bell is silent. Can you hear it? So I know it's a bit long. Thank you for listening. What I was struck by, maybe this is just my own particular way of thinking, in that first stanza about the entry gate and the temple bell waiting and the sound which draws us in, what we long for, what we hope to meet, and then what actually happens. The teachers the last few weeks talked about both longing and awe. The awe which takes us beyond ourselves, which is met sometimes with fear, but also spiritual nourishment. All of those things move together. And then the reality of that day where no sound was sent out, just the fire tearing down the slope. We meet our brokenness in ourselves and each other all the time. And many times there's no warning, where life turns on a dime and things can be swept away in a moment. Life as it is. And in Lahaina, you can't actually go in and do very much right now because it's off limits as they clean it up and take away toxic things and try to manage it. So there's this threshold which you have to tolerate, the willingness to accept and watch and do what you can. And reflecting on our longing to step forward, even in inquiry, but sometimes our unwillingness, that tug between love and loss, that's where valor comes in, as Trudy said, where courage with encouragement is needed, where creativity finds its hold, and where practice supports us. She referenced that last piece from In Blackwater Woods by Mary Oliver. To live in this world, we must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against our bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. And then that last piece, the temple gate is now in ashes. The great bell is silent. Can you hear it? What resonates that's deeper than sound? Only our deep and shared practice can open this Dharma ear, this Dharma eye. No amount of self-cultivation or therapy or anything else opens this space. Although all that other wonderful, useful work can turn down the background noise and the static so that your ear can hear and your eye can see. And we can be a responsive function. So I know I've been kind of all over the place here, resituating myself in the midst of all that's happened. But I did want to make some comments about what I understand inquiry to be, how it is going forward as a mutual sharing from so many of us, an Appamata family, and how you're coming forward as such a gift. If you didn't come forward, it'd be not worth doing. I mean, there'd be no one to talk to. So thank you for that. It inspires us and helps us be able to say something, to take our mind on a certain kind of walk, even in the midst of brokenness and uncertainty, so that we can be encouraged and step through the temple gate. So now it's your turn to step through. If this is called forward, anything that you'd like to meet about, it's my great joy to meet you when you do come. Hey, guys.
Hey, um, what resonates deeper than sound? You just whoosh. Um, I- and I think that like imagery, the creative process of making something that spoke without words always felt like it went in, took that path.
Mhm.
And
I think so.
but so I started a new project that I'm calling like that I want it to be like connections through shadow. What is the light in the dark place?
Mhm.
And I don't think the images are holding. I think that the words are doing more than the images are. The images seem kind of ordinary to me. They don't. I'm not there yet. I'm not there.
But are
Uh,
they but are they prompting something?
oh yeah,
So they may not be the images that are resonating like you might want, but they're calling something.
yeah,
That's why I said that the temple bell is really strong and it sends out a thing, but I said it's more like gravity. Yeah, it's a sound, but it's more like, and those the prompts of those shadowy pictures are calling forward something. You have to say something.
yeah. It's kind of like when the way-seeking mind talk that didn't happen was such a huge lesson for me, and such you know um
Accept.
but also it was it was the receiving. It was the dharma talk that everybody else gave that
That's part of what you have to accept. The not happening was one part of it, but the other part was could you accept the amount of love that came your way?
yeah,
The amount of acceptance,
yeah,
which wasn't your embodied experience earlier in your life about being accepted for the way you showed up or didn't.
right, right. um and I recently had some encounters with some old friends that have
I heard you speak about that.
left me hurt. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know I had spoken about it, but yeah,
I did an inquiry a couple of weeks ago.
it's that's still kind of a part of me. And
Things change.
yeah, right.
Life, the rhythms of your life move. People you were so close to. Hmm.
Mhm. So them a little bit, and so thankful to be with you and everybody here.
Yes. I look forward to seeing your images and hearing your words.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Thank you.
We have Suzanne next.
Hi, Suzanne.
I just want to say, Flint, that I will be sitting with you this evening in the temple. Your images took me right there, and afternoon there. And knowing that the notice was put in the Molokai paper, I just think that's the best to
I was
drop in.
surprised to see it.
Can imagine. Yes, but it is well, you know how much I love Molokai and that little sweet town and whoever is there. And I'm imagining that whoever can come and whoever can't come, that you'll be sitting for everybody, and I'll be sitting with you.
I'll just take you inside. So
Yeah, thank you. That's an extraordinary place, and I'm not big on churches or temples, but it's an extraordinary place.
well, what shows behind me now seems very formal and beautiful, but it's also extremely ordinary in there, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Brendan from the UK.
Oh, pardon me. Sorry.
Good evening.
Hi. Nice to see you.
See you.
I've been deepening my practice recently, and I've noticed that I've been getting some quite big challenges as life does throw at you out of nowhere. And when that's happened, I made a different choice today, actually. Rather than opening a bottle of rum, I came here, and I felt very touched to be here, and I just wanted to ask for some words of encouragement, really, and some advice on how to stay in practice in amongst the struggle, if you like.
If I were in the same room with you and you had said what you just said, all of it, including that turn, instead of opening a bottle of rum, I chose to come here. If I were in the same room with you, I would begin to do a series of 3 full prostrations to the ground in front of you. And what happens in you when I describe that impulse in me?
I feel very warm towards you.
It's an honoring of a choice. It's not just about alcohol. It's about making a choice like that, which is huge and wholesome and difficult, maybe. And to be with me and other people who are witnessing right now and to say, I made that choice. And for other people to honor you deeply, not just say, oh, great. No, to bow to the floor. Realize how important those things are. That's how you continue practice, with that kind of encouragement. There's no trick. You just keep making choices and keep connected with people who make choices that will help you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I noticed earlier that Brahman had her hand up, and I don't know if she dropped off or decided not to come forward, but I'm just nudging anyway in case. You laugh, Bill. But
Yeah. I'll put Bronwyn back. She's waving her hand.
oh, okay. I thought she was there a moment ago, but then it kind of went away. There she is.
All right. I don't know if you can see me. I'm sitting on the floor of the office.
Oh,
That's where there's the most light.
yeah.
The east light comes in. So the desk is behind me. There's something profound in saying that this morning.
Yeah.
I took my hand down because I said to myself, well, is what you were going to say appropriate? But it's what I'm sitting with.
Yeah, we don't know. You haven't said it yet.
No, I know that, but I'm asking myself. You raised your hand because there was something burning inside of you, but is that appropriate in front of everyone? And so I loved your poem.
Thank you.
That was amazing. And Brendan, and what he said in making choices, which leads me into my dear friend Jan, who's made a choice saying, I need to be free to do what I need to do when I need to do it.
Sure. That's right.
And who's been running the Hui with? I thought, I can't do it without you.
Another seasonal turn.
Oh. Yeah. And so, and it's just so right.
Yeah.
And so then what happens without either of us here
Yeah.
is that like standing on the edge of the, looking at, this is an extreme Lahaina. It's like, what's next for Lahaina? What's next for Hui?
Right. Certain things have burned down.
Yes.
And what comes next?
Yes. Yes. What comes next?
Yeah, what comes next? I'm hesitating now because I'm asking myself, is this appropriate what I'm about to say?
Yes.
And I'll tell you why I'm saying it, because I wrote 2 poems on Maui, and one of them had to do with an event I participated in which there was a release of 100 monarch butterflies. But this has something to do with you and your work and transformation. So can I read that one?
Please, please, please.
Okay, let me take a moment to find it so I can, because I hadn't anticipated that. But gosh, this transformation and transmutation of things. And I call this one Nature's Faith, because there's a kind of a faith that when we don't know what's going to happen, and when things like the monarchs, there's so little chance of the survival of any one of them. So I'm just following that for a moment as I was reflecting on the monarchs, the faith of countless generations of monarchs. And I could say that the faith of countless generations of Hui participants. The faith of countless generations of monarchs encourages the depositing of the tiny eggs on the underside of a milkweed leaf with so little chance of survival. These small pearls scattered as if a delicate necklace had broken. But the unbroken lineage continues as the eggs open and the emergence begins to devour the plant, the tender, swelling body an easy target for birds and mice. The larva inches along the stem with faith in the feeding. Then, responding to a message only it can sense, the elaborately striped being slows and finds a place to rest, a testament to its faith and the transformation to come. A miraculous private alchemy. The chrysalis holds the primordial life, the ancient plan unfolding faithfully on its own. Again, a green morsel for a mouse or a bird, but the only hope for the compact folded being. Then the first crack and the splitting, the emerging, impossibly offering the delicate winged being against all odds. A miraculous embodiment of nature's faith and fortune. Can we embody this same deep faith in our natures? Can we embody this same deep faith in our natures and our own imperfect but generous human nature? Can we plant seeds for the emergence of a new town or new Hui? Can we nourish each other's souls protecting the people and the land for whom this is home? Can this place emerge remade and renewed, spreading new wings for future generations, ready to fly in faith? In faith.
In faith.
In faith.
In
In faith. Sitting on the floor in the light, the desk behind you. Perfect.
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 And I'm taking this course that's about art and what do you want to do next? Just do whatever it is. Put on that paper, do it. And all I want to do is plant grasses that will stop erosion. That's
what you want to do.
That's what I want to do. This is behind me. I
Yeah.
love you, Flint. Thank you for
Love you. Thank you for coming forward and taking the risk. Mhm. And we would bow many, many times to Jan.
yes, many
Her
times.
immense offerings, including the offering of self-care that she's now stating. I'm just shifting back to gallery view so I can see everyone. Oh,
I wanted to come and just make contact with you. Feel very touched. And I felt incredibly touched by your interaction with Brendan. And strengthened by what he said. I experience life at the moment as a lot of choices all the time. Whether to express some annoyance at someone who can't remember anything, or whether to just not say. And in the choice, there's the energy and the encouragement. And to hear other people talking about their choice is extremely encouraging. And it reminded me of the poem by Jane Hirschfield that you wrote us quite a long time ago, but it's really stayed with me. It was a turning word.
Mm.
To make the unwanted wanted.
Right. Yeah. Accept.
Yeah. I just want to share that with Brendan and to say how much I honour him for what he said and what he's done.
Exactly. He was demonstrating the kind of vulnerability and honesty that allows us to practice so deeply so we make choices. In some ways, if that practice doesn't allow us to make those more wholesome choices, why bother? Thank you, Catherine. I know I hold
Thank
you
you
in,
both.
yeah, and I hold John also equally dear. Thank you. As it says behind you, this is it. Thank you. From the west coast of North America, Bill.
Hi.
There.
There.
I just saw you in person, and here you are.
I have a little inquiry, I guess. We've been circling around the shadow of the light, and things that happen. Where in us does that intrinsic hope come from? Is it a humanness? Is it our practice?
When you say intrinsic hope, I hear that there's a really deep sincerity in that, but what are you?
To me, that's like the knowledge that it's just fine.
Uh,
Um,
that little flame gets hidden a lot of times, doesn't it?
yeah, we worry about things.
Right. Well, that's where faith comes in, which I prefer over hope in a certain way, because hope can be complicated and it can be very fraught with self-centered dream stuff.
Uh,
Um, but faith in our true nature, faith in the basic goodness of the world, faith when you see, gosh, everything is happening. How can you have any kind of faith? Um, because there's a faith in something that's beyond our preferences, and that's something that's larger. Um, because life has continued. It's not like with the monarchs, it has continued despite all odds. And that's the big mystery, isn't it? That we would have any kind of faith or hope, and that we would continue against all odds. And that care for each other is the place where the little flame starts to brighten a little bit, and we can meet each other and care for each other. But you called it intrinsic, And I think also because you're a physician, it's life force. It's just life force. Like each of those stages in the monarch, they're not thinking. They just keep doing.
just do.
Because it's alive. It's aliveness finding its way. And aliveness keeps finding its way aside from all of our ideas about it, all of our thoughts and personal perspectives, and life just keeps finding its way. And what we're trying to do is practice to get out of the way of life finding its way. Right. Thank you so much, Bill. It's always a pleasure to be with you. And I see that we're at the end of our time, for now at least, as we continue to try to get out of the way so life can find its way. It's a good place to end. And it makes a good opening for the 4 practice principles to together, caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. What a great blessing and gift it is to be with all of you.
Well, thank you so much, Flint, for being with us all, and to all the teachers who share the inquiry seat with you. Thank you all so much, and thank you to all of you. It's beyond words what it means that you all continue to turn up and support each other's practice. It's just incredible. It really is. And if you'd like to support Appamada and these offerings in a financial way to help continue the continuation of these kind of events, then please do go to appamada.org and offer dana, however small. Every little bit helps. So thank you so much for all the ways that you do continue to support Appamada and all of this. Thank you. And if you'd like to continue for a further 30 minutes, please do join myself and others on the porch, and we'll continue the conversation that Flint's begun here. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.